Looking for a guaranteed way to create content that resonates with your audience? Start a podcast, interview your ideal clients, and let them choose the topic of the interview. Because if your ideal clients care about the topic, there's a good chance the rest of your audience will care about it too. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. I am your co-host, Sam Tarell. Super excited to be on the show today. This is actually my first episode as a co-host, and I'm super thankful for this opportunity to share with everybody some of the things that I've got going on. So I started my first business called Hoop Brothers when I was 18 years old. The goal of that company was to help high school basketball players get scholarships for college. Built it into an internationally successful company with over a dozen in-house employees. And the way I was able to do that was through a leadership model I created called the Divergent Leadership Model, which we're going to talk about today. So today, I run an alternative school called Divergent U. And the purpose of Divergent U is to help students, visionaries, entrepreneurs to create and find meaning in the work that they do, not to fit into the past, but to create the future. One of the other things that we do is we work with businesses to talk about this divergent leadership model, which we're going to go over in just a second. So most companies in their size, as they continue to grow, one of the biggest challenges that we see is that transformation happens a lot slower. So change happens a lot slower the bigger a company gets. And one of the main reasons that is because there's more and more processes. So if a company has 10,000 processes, let's say, in order for that company to make a change, they have to adjust a lot more processes than if a company has, say, 100. So it makes sense that as a company gets bigger, in order to make changes, things take a little bit longer. In the model that we have created, we allow for change to happen a lot quicker. So there are basically three pillars to that leadership model. Whereas most companies look at the process as, let's say, the religion of the company, all of their employees are supposed to follow a specific process to get a specific task done. We see that model actually helps efficiency in the short term, but slows down transformation of the company in the long term. So the change that we make to the companies that we work with is a three-tiered system. So you have your values, you have your goals, and then you have your processes. So first, looking at the values. The values of the company is the way that we go about our business. We operate authentically. Some of the core values that we have, whether it's authenticity or integrity, some of the things that we focus on in the process, in the way that we approach the business that we do. So first is having those values. Then you have goals. And so goals are must be aligned with those values. A goal is a specific goal for a position. So say a salesperson's goal is they need to hit certain benchmarks, right? The goal for the company, you might have a revenue goal. You might have a customer service or a customer review goal. But you build those goals based around the values of the company. And then third, you have the process. And so the process is the way in which we reach that goal. And where most companies put the process on a pedestal, what we do is we put the values on the pedestal, then we have our goals, and then we allow the process to grow and change throughout time as long as it fits within the values and the goals. When you extend this out, what it ends up looking like, you have your leadership team focus primarily on making sure the values of the company are met, making sure the company culture internally is being handled correctly, as well as how we operate externally as a brand in the bigger picture. The Middle management is still part of those values where the leadership team creates those values and creates some goals. The leadership team is responsible for making sure those goals are met. I'm sorry, not the leadership team, the management team. So underneath the leadership team, you have the middle managers who are responsible for making sure that each and every one of those goals that we set are then met. And then when you go a step lower is the process of how we reach those goals. And most businesses are keeping their employees to a specific process, but by allowing the employee to choose their own process with processes that we've done before being recommended, it gives them much more ownership of the task that they're doing. And it allows for change to happen a lot quicker. So, simple example, we have, say, a sales script set up for making a connection to a B2B organization that we're trying to sell to. Now, in most cases, the sales script might be the process that needs to be followed somewhat to a T, and the company sees that process as what the employee needs to produce. Now, if we switch that and we say, as long as you are reaching the goal within our core values and not doing anything that we don't believe in, then your process is open to change. By doing that, our employees can use the script that we have. They can use it as a template, but they can go about it in their own way. And then initially, it slows down the trackability of things because you may have a few different processes going on at the same time, but not every single person operates the same way, which is why we call it the Divergent Leadership Model, because not every single person converges to the same exact process and operates in the same exact way. In some cases, we might have a process that is universally the best process that we need to use as a company. But there's a lot of cases in which that's not true. Different people work differently. And so by giving people ownership over their own process, as long as they're meeting the goals within the values that are set, it allows us as a company to grow and expand a lot quicker. We can continue to evolve and change because the process can change almost on a week to week, month to month basis, depending on changes in the market, depending on who's handling the process. The goals change a little bit slower. So we set our goals for the quarter. Sometimes we set our goals for the year. And the core values change at an even slower rate, where maybe every once a year we kind of circle back to those core values and we say, is there anything that we need to adjust or change or expand upon in those core values? And so the speed in which the company changes happens at different levels, where at the leadership level, it's a little bit slower because we know who we are as a company. On the middle level, those goals change maybe a quarter to quarter basis. And then those processes can be adjusted in some cases day to day. Now, remembering that there are some processes that work very well and are usually the best process to use. And we highly recommend that for most of our staff. There may just be some times where that is able to be changed or adjusted as long as they are meeting the goal and hitting those core values at the same time. So by doing this, by implementing this model, what we've seen is ridiculous results for some of the companies that we work with. The main thing that we see is it streamlines the communication. Every single employee feels they have ownership over their individual tasks. It increases the efficiency. It increases the output, I should say, of each individual person, because some people might work better under certain circumstances. Increases total sales in a lot of cases. If people are able to work in their own process, they can adjust to that and they can do it their way. And it really builds the brand equity a lot, not only internally, because every single employee feels that culture. They feel the ability to have ownership over their position, and they carry that with them outside of the office. It starts to build a brand a lot quicker by having an organization that really allows their employees some freedom of choice and doesn't push them into a box, as long as we're meeting the goals and staying with those core values. So again, those three pillars, you want to make sure that you have those values set. That's the first thing, most important. Then you have your goals based on those values, and then you create the process. Where most organizations have that process on the pedestal, we put the values first, and we teach companies how to streamline that process and make it very simple to understand at every single level. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any further questions about the way this Divergent Leadership Model works, or you want to follow up with me, you can follow me on LinkedIn. My name is Sam Tarell once again, Best way to reach out to me again is LinkedIn. Give me a follow, shoot me a message. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm super excited to continue as a co-host for the B2B Growth Show, and look out for the next episode.
Digital marketing agencies have a tough job. You have to stay on top of the latest marketing strategies for your clients and your agency. What if there was a way you could address both at the same time? Imagine your agency putting out content with greater quality and quantity. Envision bringing your clients a turnkey solution for one of B2B marketing's fastest growing media strategies, podcasting. You know, all those clients asking for your help with their account-based marketing efforts? Picture being the first to bring them the idea of content-based networking, showing them the proven strategy for breaking into their most coveted accounts. Here's the concept. Sweetfish Media is looking to work with a limited number of innovative agencies interested in a new partnership model. We produce a podcast for your agency. You introduce the power of podcasting and Sweetfish services to your clients. Everybody wins. Learn more at sweetfishpartners.com.